Okay, let's just jump right into this. Anthropic just dropped an announcement that is literally redefining our entire relationship with artificial intelligence. Welcome to this Cognitive Capital Explainer, where we are tracking a massive shift, moving Claude out of the chat window and turning it into a true integrated workflow companion. If you're tired of AI just being this blank box where you type a prompt, cross your fingers, and hope for the best, you are going to love this. We're talking about AI that actually steps right inside the software where your real work gets done.
We are completely skipping the hype today. Just high-signal, practical insights. Here is our roadmap. First, the fundamental shift from chat to workflow. Second, mapping out the new connector ecosystem. Third, why boring production work is actually where the big wins happen. And finally, the operator adoption path so you can test this safely.
All right, Section 1. The shift from chat to workflow. Leaving the chat box. This is where the whole paradigm flips.
To really ground this explainer, let's look at the exact date this shift occurred. April 28, 2026. That is when Anthropic officially announced Claude for creative work. We aren't talking about some theoretical, maybe someday tech. This is a concrete, active development that is fundamentally changing digital production right now. Just look at the visual contrast between how we used to work and where we're going. On the left, you've got the old way, right? A blank, isolated chat box where you literally had to copy, paste, and over-explain every single tiny detail of your project. It's exhausting. But on the right, that's the new paradigm, an in-app workflow companion. Claude is now plugging directly into your workspaces. Instead of you describing what needs to be done, it grounds its answers in your actual software, your specific project structure, and the exact production steps that matter to you.
Moving to Section 2, the connector ecosystem map. Let's look at exactly where this new workflow capital actually lives.
Anthropic definitely isn't doing this alone. They're rolling out connectors for a serious powerhouse coalition of partners. Just look at the sheer breadth of this software ecosystem. We've got Adobe, Blender, Ableton, Autodesk, Affinity by Canva, Splice, Resolume, and SketchUp. I mean, wow. AI is embedding itself into the deep, complex tools where professional creatives, designers, and operators spend their entire day. This is exactly where your cognitive capital, your team's finite, valuable mental energy and focus is actually spent and saved.
And just to put the scale of this into perspective, that Adobe connector alone, it taps into more than 50 different Creative Cloud tools. 50! We are talking about direct workflow integrations with industry heavyweights like Photoshop, Premiere, and Express. The volume of professional workflows this touches is just massive.
Let's break down what this looks like under the hood, because this is where it gets really good. For Ableton, Claude grounds its answers directly in the official documentation for Live and Push, meaning it intimately understands the software. Over in Autodesk Fusion, designers and engineers with a subscription can actually create and modify complex 3D models just by having a conversation with Claude. And for Blender, it offers a natural language bridge right into the Python API. Honestly, it's so cool. Anthropic is so committed to this space that they even joined the Blender Development Fund as a patron to back the community.
All right, Section 3, boring production work wins, the productivity case. Okay, here is the absolute most crucial takeaway of this entire explainer. The real magic of this AI shift isn't in the flashy, create something out of thin air stuff. It's in accelerating the tedious, everyday production tasks. Because, let's be real, creative tools are an incredibly hard test for AI. It's a giant puzzle of intense, overlapping context. You're dealing with dozens of image layers and masks, overlapping audio tracks with super precise mix notes, complex 3D objects and lighting rigs, not to mention rigid export settings and looming deadlines. But if Claude can successfully navigate and be helpful inside that highly complex environment, it proves a massive point. If AI can work here, that exact same framework can easily spread to heavy business tools, finance software, or enterprise operations.
I absolutely love this comparison because it perfectly captures workflow capital in action. Look at high hype AI versus practical value. High hype says, hey, make me a piece of art from scratch. Practical value says, do a batch of image adjustments for me. High hype wants the AI to write a whole song. Practical value just wants it to handle tedious layer renaming so you don't lose your mind. High hype is designing an entire 3D scene, but the real operator win? That's managing file exports and bridging between tools. Applications like Affinity by Canva are using AI to sand down these tiny, annoying daily frictions. And when you remove that friction, teams move significantly faster, and they preserve their cognitive capital for ambitious, high-level output instead of burning out on the boring stuff.
Section 4. The operator adoption path. Testing loops safely.
Now that we see the value, how do we actually implement this?
Okay, we have to be completely objective here for a second. Handing an AI direct access to your project files, your settings, and your scripts, yeah, that carries inherent risk. Direct tool access absolutely raises the stakes, which is why guardrails are non-negotiable. If you're going to deploy these connectors, you must have strict permissions and access boundaries, you need rock-solid version history backups, you absolutely need robust undo stacks, and above all else, you must have human review gates. The smart, safe version of this workflow isn't just letting the AI go wild, it's letting it suggest and automate the low-risk steps while human judgment keeps its hands firmly on the wheel.
So how do you actually start rolling this out? Here is a super practical 3-step adoption framework. Step 1, observe. Start with the low-risk stuff, like searching documentation or generating quick project summaries. Step 2, automate. Once you trust it, move on to the repetitive grunt work, layer naming, cleaning up files, running simple export variations. And step 3, review. Always keep human taste and final approval in the loop. The ultimate goal here isn't to be wowed by a fancy demo, it's to figure out, hey, does this actually save my team time, before you scale it across the entire company.
Which brings us to our final thought, a really provocative cognitive capital question that we all need to wrestle with as operators. Would you rather have AI operating directly inside your creative tools, integrated right there into your production files doing the heavy lifting, or do you kind of prefer keeping AI completely separate from your workflows until its reliability and permissions are 100% foolproof? It's a fundamental question about how we balance risk and productivity moving forward. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will leave you to ponder exactly how you are going to navigate this new era of AI workflow companions.